Hi! For this video, what we're going to do is we're going to solve an absolute value inequality. And absolute value inequalities make you think a little bit more than equations do. With equations, remember that when you solve the absolute value, you're looking for all values that are within a range of 9 of 0. So the inside of this, the absolute value of this could be -9, or the absolute value of this could be +9 on the inside. But because we have an inequality, we're looking for all equations or all numbers that I can plug in for x that would give me an output that is less than 9. So it's not as straightforward. So what you have to do is you have to remember, if it's pointing to the left, if it's less than, then it's always going to be an and inequality, compound inequality. If it's greater than or equal to, it's always going to be an or inequality. The way I've always stressed it to my classes is just kind of do a play on words. If it's less than, then you just change it into less than, you use and. So every time it says less than, just think about that just so that you can remember which way to write it. So you have two options with an and inequality. You can either write it where 9 minus 5x is less than 9. Remember that when we multiply or divide by a negative, that we have to change this value. So you can write it together as a compound inequality where your expression is in between. Or if it's easier for you, either way you end up with the same answer. So either way you are going to get the same solution. You can also write it as it is, the 9 minus 5x. Less than 9, and 9 minus 5x is greater than -9. So when you do this part here, you remember that you have to change the inequality sign when you change it to the negative. This is the same exact thing. So it's really just a preference of which one you like better. So if you do it this way, you would just solve it together. So we get -9 here, -9 here. In the middle it cancels out. And so we can say that -5x is less than 0 or greater than -18. So with this, we would then have to divide by a negative. And remember, when we divide by a negative, we have to remember to switch all of our signs. So we would end up with x is greater than 0, so make sure that you switch this sign, 18/5, which is really 3 3/5. You could change it to a decimal. I'm just going to leave it as an improper fraction. So that's one way of solving this. And then because 0 is less than, the best way to write this answer is 0 is less than x is less than 18/5. And there's some people that don't like this method, which is why I showed this method over here too, because for some people this is just more confusing because it's all together and you're changing the signs. So just to show you that you get the same answer, even if you were to plug it in this way, what we would do is just solve this equation by subtracting 9, and we get the -5x is less than 0. Divide by -5, and x is greater than 0, so that's our first. And then we would do the same thing with this one. We would subtract our 9, and we get -5x is greater than -18. If I divide both sides by -5, we get x is less than 18/5. And because it's an and inequality, we would have to put it together, and so we would put it together this way, because what we're looking for is all values that are greater than 0, so to the right of 0, not including it, and all values that are less than 18/5. And like I said, if it's easier for you to see this as a mixed number or a decimal, go ahead and write it that way. Either way is acceptable. So we're looking for all values to the left of that. So basically the answer to this is the intersection of all of these values in between. It does not include 0 and it does not include 18/5. So if you want to check to make sure that your solution makes sense, you could pick any value that's in between here. So let's say that we picked 1. If I plug in 1, I get 9 minus 5, which is 4, and the absolute value of 4 is less than 9, so that works. If I picked a value like, say, -1 and plugged it in to see if it's, because if I pick something on the outside to make sure it doesn't work, so if I picked, say, -1, we would have 9 plus 5, which is 14, and the absolute value of 14 is not less than 9, so we can see that our solution set does make sense in the inequality. So with this, again, depending upon the course that you're in and how you have to write your solutions, if you want to write it in set notation, you would just write it as x such that x is between 0 and 18/5. And with and in inequalities, we just always write the smallest first. Just be very careful about your signs, because if the signs were backwards and it said that it had to be less than 0 but greater than this, then there would be no solutions. So you do have to just kind of look at the solution to make sure it makes sense. As far as interval notation goes, we would just write this as 0 to 18/5, and we would put it in soft parentheses because it's not included. As always, thanks for watching. If there is any other content that you need me to cover, please just let me know.